Hello everyone, this is Plankara and welcome to my universe. Today we're going to continue rigging Shalom from Path to Nowhere. So yesterday I made some good progress on redoing the right head turn here. Overall, so far so good. I think I've gotten this side mostly there. I might adjust a strand here and there. But I started tackling this area over here, which was very intimidating to me at first. I got a little bit stuck on what to do with this lower part of the connecting hair. So I want to take a look at that again today. So far what I'm seeing is a lot of these lines here are a little bit too high. So I'm going to drop them down just a bit there. And I'll go from there. I get the feeling it's going to take a little bit of trial and error for me to figure out what I want to do with these. This is where my own personal lack of experience with rigging really shows itself, in that sometimes it can take me a few tries to figure out what I should be doing with something. All I noticed here was that a lot of these things were a little bit too high, so I'm just dropping them down for now. Gonna start there. and see where all this takes me. Wondering if I bumped my microphone at some point. It feels like it's in kind of an odd spot. Give me just a moment here. Okay, I'll worry about it later. It's probably fine. So I might tweak it a little here and there, but overall it's probably fine. Alright, yeah, that's definitely better already. This is just one of those things. I remember having this problem the first time I was going through here. In that this area is very strange, in that I feel like I want a lot of these textures to be closer to the bang, because the bang is going to be overlapping them. But at the same time, the head is turning this direction. So that also means I want these textures to be going to the right. But the bang is on the left. So it's kind of an interesting conundrum. So maybe it's for the best if I don't worry about it too much and I just slide some of this back on over and make it look a little bit more like everything is just moving to the right. Yes, that didn't occur to me yesterday, but that was indeed the exact same problem that I had the first time through. I'm glad I remembered, because now a lot of the things of what I did about it is coming back to me. This is what it means to gain experience in something. Start recognizing your own mistakes, and you're just like, wait, didn't I do this before? I have this weird sensation of deja vu, that I'm walking right into a trap. So here we are. So I'll just start gradually, hopefully, putting some of this stuff into place. Right now I just want to try to get the feeling of it all moving to the right in place here. I do think that the movement is ultimately more important than where it ends up. I think for my personal model, with it being my first real attempt at something that I'd actually track using tracking software, I ended up focusing too much on each individual angle and how it looked, as opposed to how it all moved and worked together. So that's something I want to be conscious of here. The movement is far more important than each individual static image that makes up the keyframes that make the movement. I do very much believe that to be true now. So we're just going to ignore that things are going to be a little bit wrinkly for a time. And just make sure that everything looks like it's wrapping around her head the way I want it to. These lower strands are still too high. These little guys need to be coming down here. And also need to be stretched out a little bit. There we go. And now it is day 18 of Inktober. Let's see, how many days are left? Yeah, less than 2 weeks. Yeah, yesterday was where there'd be 2 weeks left. I can hardly believe it. I can honestly hardly believe that I've been able to keep up with it like this. Because overall, I am fairly slow at drawing. And I tend to like to take my time with my art. Even putting something out weekly was proving to be a little bit on the stressful side for me when I was doing that last year. But man, doing it daily. I'm still amazed that I've been able to keep up. I think I say that every time, every day, or have for the last few days. But it's just so wild to me that I've been able to keep up like that. It's pretty cool, honestly. Today's theme was drive. And I don't know, I think there's probably stuff I could do with that one, but the first thing that came to mind was I had this character who, through, you know, some magical shenanigans could, like, increase her reflexes and agility and stuff. Superpower-based thing. And the way she drove is just on pure reflex. Did not care about traffic laws. Would go way too fast all the time, but would never get into an accident because of that. It would probably cause other people to get into an accident, but she'd be fine, so she didn't care much. And that was the image that just immediately came to my mind of this character just driving way too fast. It's like she wasn't really the type of character to make really unhinged expressions, but I think I'm going to draw it like that anyway because it sounds fun. Unhinged expressions are a good time, so it's probably what I'll go with for today. I can kind of picture it in my head. Honestly, it's kind of nice to have a image in my head for today. The last few haven't had any just immediate thoughts from me. So I've had to just really think of something either while I was eating before I started drawing, or just put down some blobs and hope something came to mind. But today I kind of have a direction I want to go. Probably won't end up looking too much like the actual character, but that's okay. I don't want to get stuck on that when I'm trying to draw very, very fast. It'll just be whatever I happen to make, but the image of that character will be in my head the whole time. I do like that character. I kind of miss writing her. I've thought about doing it a few times, but it's always hard because most of my writing has been done via forum role-playing, and she's a type of character that I really, really like to tie to a second character. Preferably not mine, because it's not as much fun. And, so that means that I kind of have to know someone first, and when I'm just jumping into a new site and a new community, it's a bit hard to do that. And none of the people that I've ended up meeting have been too interested in having a character like that tied closely to one of theirs, or maybe interest is the wrong word. It just hasn't worked out. That's probably a better way to put it. I don't think it's necessarily interest. The stars have not aligned. And I'm sure they will someday. She is a fun character. And I'd like to play her again. Could probably easily write her myself in some story I write on my own and all that good stuff. And I probably will someday. She hasn't been in any of my recent ideas, though. So she's just kind of floating in the back of my head. Just hanging out, taking it easy, waiting for the right time to pounce. That sounds very true to her character as well. really do enjoy making characters, though. Just due to the nature of the stuff I've been writing until now, I don't necessarily have, like, solid stories for any of them. Just kind of some general themes and directions that I wouldn't mind taking them. But nothing, like, super concrete. The character that I've been talking about, her name is Diana. And her basic idea, just taking away some of the setting trappings, is that her parents, like, basically locked her in a basement when she was 4, and she grew up there. So she's, like, borderline feral and doesn't really understand the world. And then some circumstance, typically another person, because that's how I like to play it, gets her out of there, or gets her the motivation to get out of there. And she does, and she tracks them down, and just follows them like a lost duckling. So she's not like the raised by wolves type of feral, just the kind that never got to actually properly interact with people. Doesn't really know how it all works. And doesn't really understand a lot of the things that people get stuck on, like social niceties and caring about people's opinions. So she's a very fun character. The big thing that I like to do with her BFF, as I call them, whichever character she follows around like a lost duckling, is for her to talk about some of their worries and troubles and not really understand why, and put them into very basic things that just make them sound dumb. I mean, a lot of the time that they are dumb, because people fixate on a lot of really dumb things. Just like, you know, why does it matter if the world hates you? It's okay. Why does it even matter? But it's never quite that simple. But sometimes pointing them out in simple terms like that can really, I don't know, make characters think about their belief structure and why they do certain things. And I think that's brought some interesting reactions out of people. So she's really fun in that regard. This is why I ultimately prefer tying her to other characters, rather than just playing her on her own. I've tried it a couple of times, but it's just never been as much fun. Because another core aspect of her character is that she has trouble feeling much of anything. Like, there is definitely a degree of passion and desire within her heart, but her emotions were largely numbed out and by those experiences that shaped her life, and was never, or how should I say this? That if they weren't, she probably would have had a very bad time. It's a fairly common response to traumatic events like that. And so by tying her to someone else, I can kind of let her leech off of their beliefs and emotions to a degree. And send her in a direction that way. It gives her a more clear starting point. Whereas I feel without them, sometimes she just kind of meanders a little bit. That, I mean, when it comes to forum role-playing, like, half the point is to figure out fun stuff to do with other people's characters. So It only makes sense that I like to tie her to someone else. It's like the entire point of the hobby. It really shouldn't come as a surprise. Alright, I'm getting there on putting all of this together. I think some areas are still looking a little bit wrinkly. And I think once I manage to correct a lot of that, then everything will be much more in place. So it's just kind of figuring out where some of this should go. I'm not quite sure yet. That's why I was consulting the mesh just a second ago. Just figured that I'd see what wisdom the mesh had. Had a lot of wisdom, as it turns out. The mesh typically does. It knows what's going on. It's honestly kind of impressive. You can see that I hid the bang a little while ago, and I'm probably going to hide it again here. Let's go do that. Just because I feel like a lot of the problems that I'm having are actually in the frames between the two keyframes. So I want to see what that looks like here, and then go and make sure that there's nothing too wrinkly in the areas underneath the bang there. Because for the most part, it's like not relevant. That's why a lot of the time I don't remove hair to do stuff like this. But in this case, the stars have aligned, and it's very relevant. Because you actually see a lot of this layer before it gets covered up by the bang. And so if it looks wrong in that area, then it's gonna look wrong in motion. And that's just kind of how it works out. That's just how it works out in this case. It's kind of the interesting thing about animation, in that you can't necessarily ignore the stuff that's not visible. Because every little piece ends up being a little bit more important than you might expect. And right now I'm looking over here in this little area between these other strands. And I was saying that if something was getting folded weird, and indeed I do think that is the case. So I want to take a look at this real quick. Yeah, I don't think it actually takes that much to get that right. Fortunately. I just don't want things to be moving strangely. Yeah, now it's looking better. Now it just looks like this gets tucked behind that strand there. Which makes sense. But you. This strand that I'm tracing over right here, it's been giving me all kinds of trouble. And I don't know why. I might consult the mesh for its wisdom once more. So let's take a look-see. Okay, well, I'm not sure if this is going to be relevant at all, but I do feel like a lot of these outside vertices are moving up a lot, so let's just pull all that down. Try to line them up with where they normally are. Maybe helped a little bit. Not that much, though. And hopefully it'll make consulting the mesh a little bit more straightforward. Now I won't see all those vertices squirming out of the corner of my vision. And I can just go focus in on the ones that are not playing nice with me right now. But admittedly, even when consulting the mesh, I'm not quite sure what's wrong. Is it just this part's going a little bit too low? Do I need to raise this up a little bit? Is that what you're trying to tell me, mesh? That those triangles at the bottom are getting smaller? Let's take a look. Did that improve things at all? Actually, yes. That might have indeed been what the mesh was trying to tell me. Alright, I'm glad I was finally able to understand. If only the mesh could communicate in words instead of triangles. I'd have a much easier time understanding it. But alas, triangles is all it really has. That's the problem with being a digital entity. A digital entity that was never meant to talk or relate to humans in any way. Okay, that doesn't seem so bad. Let's put the bang back on and zoom out and see what I think. Yeah, doing better. Still need to adjust the angle on this guy here. I get the feeling that guy's gonna keep giving me trouble for a little while. Just a little troublemaker vertex. They happen sometimes. Alright, so far so good. Now I kind of want to adjust the angle on this highlight right above this black area. I feel like the angle there is just changing a little bit too much. So that just means I need to hold this up a little. That's all. Nothing too serious. Let me see. Are you that wrinkly in the original? No, you are not. There's like a little spot right over here that's just... I don't know what it's doing. Just... little lump there. And I don't think I want that there. So maybe something like that. I'm not too sure. I'm still not quite satisfied with how it looks. I might need to consult the mesh once more. Alright, mesh, I'm looking somewhere else now. What wisdom can you give me? Okay, this one I think I understand a little bit more clearly. This one needs to go this way a little bit. This one actually needs to go this way a little bit. Yeah, you can see the compression on that triangle is actually quite strong. Okay, that explains why things were getting perhaps a little bit lumpy there. Everything was just being squished really, really hard. And that can't be comfortable. And just squeezing all those poor little vertices together. But hopefully they'll do a little bit better now. Okay. Okay. I'm getting somewhere now. No, you need to be over here. Just means that this guy needs to be over here. Probably that this one needs to be over here a little bit too. Let's try to get these triangles nice and straight. I have to always remember that when I first go about making these meshes, I do try to make very nice isosceles triangles. So when I try to arrange the triangles when things are being crunchy and annoying and not wanting to work with me, a lot of the times straightening out the triangles can give me a pretty decent hint. Thought my model was acting strange for a second, but no, it is me who is strange. There is nothing wrong with my model. I can only see OBS out of the corner of my eye here. So I can keep general tabs on the stream and stuff, but for the most part I am not able to see detailed information. At some point I want to move my setup around a little bit to try to get things into better places. But when I was first setting it up, I didn't really know what I was going to need. I only had some vague ideas. But now that I've done this for a little while longer, I think I have some ideas on how I want to change things up. See, this is why, in the end, ultimately, you can't just read your way through understanding things. To an extent, you kind of have to do it, because there's a lot of things that you just don't even think about. Like, I admit, if I'm just using drawing as an example, when I first moved from Photoshop to Krita, the pressure sensitivity in Krita was a lot stronger. Or rather, that's probably not the right way to say it. Like, the pressure sensitivity itself is probably about the same. But the way the brush could change size was much more sensitive. Photoshop seemed to put some kind of limiter on how small the brush could get. And Krita has no such limitations. I think you can clamp it if you want to. But the default settings basically just let it become as small as it wanted, or as big as the brush, based on how hard you push on the tablet. And that was quite a thing to get used to for a while. I decided that I didn't want to change the settings. I just wanted to get used to the default settings, because I actually kind of liked the idea of being able to make these very variable line weights and that kind of thing. Sounded really cool, and indeed it was. Eventually I learned how to do it. But that's not something I can teach people how to do. You have to feel it. In your hand. In your heart. It's just something that, after you do it enough times, your brain knows what to expect. And I can absolutely tell you that if you press really, really lightly, the brush will get very small. But you won't be able to control it until you've actually drawn for quite some time. And it's probably not something you're going to get right in the first try either. It certainly took me a little while to get used to. And I also still remember when I got my first drawing tablet, of just learning how to maneuver it around. Because I don't use a screen tablet. I just use my monitor and then have this just a normal black tablet hooked up to it. No screen. Nothing like that. And it took me a little while to be drawing on one thing and then looking at something else and knowing exactly where my cursor would move. Like, I'm sure that everybody's familiar with using a mouse, which is a similar thing, but trust me, doing it on a drawing tablet feels very different. And that was just moving the cursor around. That's not even getting into the pressure sensitivity and all this other stuff. There's just a lot of tiny unconscious things that your brain has to learn for probably most anything, and even the people that teach it. The good ones will probably at least be aware that this is happening, but it's still not something that I can just inject into your brain. Not until we get, like, proper neural sharing or that kind of thing. I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. But until we get to the point where we can genuinely share memories, it's not going to be possible for that kind of thing to be taught. You just gotta do it. So that's why, if you're thinking about starting something, but you're just trying to pick up some more information, not necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes learning can be used as a way to procrastinate. Because doing something new is scary. It's very scary. And sometimes your brain will just be like, yes, but look, we read all these books and watched all these videos about this topic. We are making progress. And your brain will try to convince you of that, but your brain is wrong. Your brain is definitely wrong. You just gotta do it. You gotta accept that you're gonna be bad when you first start out. And that's just how it works. But it's okay, your brain will learn. Brains are kind of dumb, but they're also kind of smart, and they figure things out. Sometimes they just get a little bit scared when they shouldn't, or a little bit happy when they shouldn't. And then they use those emotions and the various chemicals released with them to convince us of things that are not true. The way I always like to look at the world is that if this thought or idea does not make any meaningful change on the way I live my life or on the world itself, then it's just meaningless. It doesn't actually do anything. The biggest example of that I can think of is the thought experiment of asking whether or not we live in a simulation, and whether or not this world is just some, like, version of The Sims, or whether we're in the Matrix, and someone out there is controlling us all, or that all of this is just a computer and none of it really matters. And I'm like, it could be true. But every single time I hear this thought experiment come up, it's never, had we lived differently in order to accommodate these thoughts, or accommodate this truth? Like, if we are indeed living in a simulation, is there something we should be doing differently than if we were not living in a simulation? And those ideas never come up. It's always in the vein of nothing we do actually matters because nothing we do is real. And that's just silly. It's like, of course everything we do is real. It's like if you pick up a pen and move it to the other side of the room, you will see the pen is now on the other side of the room. Something in the world has changed. But simply discussing whether or not we live in a simulation, nothing has changed there. An idea has entered your head, but it's just there in your head. It doesn't actually matter. If somebody else were to take a look at the world after that, nothing will have changed. And people tend to just stop the thought experiment there, as if it's just an excuse for them to not actually do anything. Because hey, if all of this is just a computer, then nothing we do really matters. And I still think that's wrong. We can only affect our world through whatever means we have, and it doesn't really matter if it's real or fake. It's like you can move a pen to the other side of the room, and a change has occurred. And that is visible, and you can see it. It is real. So I don't tend to like that experiments like that, because it's just, I don't know, even beyond a lot of the pretentiousness that tends to come with it. It's just like, does it really matter? It's like, it will not change anything about how you see life, how you live your life. You're still going to do the exact same things that you did before that idea came into your head, so it's like, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't, that's the kind of thing that doesn't actually matter. The only thing that matters is the stuff that will cause you to change something about your life, or take an action. I don't remember what I was talking about when I brought up that idea, but just thinking about those kinds of things always gets me a little bit irritated. I don't like it when people come up with all these random thoughts that just try to convince them not to live their life to the best they can, and just come up with excuses to be lazy and why nothing they do matters. Even if you go full nihilism, and that, you know, someday this planet will probably blow up in a fiery supernova from some galaxy that we can't even see. Maybe we can observe it with telescopes, but that overall that we can't even see, can't even do anything about. And it's like, this is true. But I can tell you that when I played kitties with my kids yesterday, and we grabbed the stuffed animal kitties and made them dance and wiggle and give each other hugs, that they smiled, and that was a good day. And that was real. And that was still worthwhile. Because when it comes down to it, it's like we'll probably, we'll be here for less than 100 years. But in that time, we can do stuff, or we can not do stuff. And maybe in the grand scheme of things, the farmers from 100 years ago, the farmers from 500 years ago, we don't really remember them. But they did something. And they probably made a difference to the people closest to them. And ultimately they are our ancestors, and because they made the decision to have children, we are here today. So you can see, just observing the world around you, that maybe things don't matter on a cosmic scale, but we can still do stuff. And it will still be real. And there we go. I think I have figured out all my problems with the connecting hair. It's looking pretty okay now. I'm satisfied. We'll see if my very picky future self agrees, but the me of today is satisfied. And what do you know? When tomorrow rolls around and my future self comes to take a look, that change will be there. Because it's real. And I made it happen. That's just how that works. Alright, let's do some smaller tweaks up here. And then I can turn the strand back on. Have all my hair layers back on again. There we go, just some gentle curves right through there. Don't want it to be anything too flashy, just want it to line up a little bit better. And I feel like some of that stuff is still shifting upward just a little bit, so we'll grab a small brush and just drag all these down just a little bit. Just a teeny tiny bit. Stop some of that shifting. Okay, and I feel it a little bit more strongly on this highlight. So I'm going to grab my brush again, just the teeny tiny one, and pull it all on down. Right through here. I might need to adjust some vertices after this. But that's fine, I can do that. It's no big deal at all. Well, yeah, there's a few that need a little bit of adjustment here. Just need to fix up the spacing. Not too surprising, given how far some of those vertices moved. Just try to get them all in happy little spots, where they can be happy and enjoy their new lives in their new home. Alright. What is this? It's something that gets stretched weirdly. Or maybe not enough is the case, maybe. There we go. Just something looking a little bit strange there. But now it's better. Yeah, that's looking nice. Okay. So now I guess I'll go take a look at everything else. So let's see here. Looks like I did a little bit of work on some of these strands back here. And I don't think they're quite 100% finished. I can see that the curl over here is a bit strange. But I want to look further on the top here. Because I remember when I was looking at it this morning, things over here through this highlight seem to be shifting a little bit. And so I want to make sure all that is good. Yeah, I think it's curling in a way that I don't quite like. Might also be why I was having trouble getting that little highlight to look right. Just gonna stretch some things out over there. A little bit better. Looks like some of these vertices just got pulled in weird ways, perhaps a little bit too hard. Everything got pulled a little bit downward from what I can see. They all just want to be a little bit higher. Maybe not quite like that. Okay, maybe not all of them want to be a little bit higher. This one wants to be a little bit lower. That's okay, we don't judge. Yeah, there we go. That's a little bit better. This highlight is still a little bit high on the top here, so let's pull some of these down. Just a little bit. There we go, something like that. Doing a bit better. And now on this side, this part of the highlight wants to come up a little bit higher here. So I'll pull it up like this. Stretch things out just a little bit over there, make it a little bit rounder. And see if that helps. Okay, the bottom of the highlight wants to be a little bit lower. Once my hand decides to actually click the right layer. It doesn't quite know what's going on right now. I don't blame it. You're doing very, very small, subtle changes, so it can be hard to keep track of it all. There we go. That seems pretty good. We shall see what the me of tomorrow thinks. Let's zoom out a bit and take a look too. Because that can give me some solid perspective on what I'm doing. Oh yeah, so far so good. I'm going to turn the strand for the connecting hair back on. Oh my. Yeah, this little guy needs to be moved quite a bit, I think. Oh, and I should turn the ears back on. Thought something was missing. I can see why I wanted to do it like that. Oop. Let's use this brush. This brush will move things a little bit more evenly. And we'll just get that into place. I get the feeling that I'm going to be playing with this for a little bit here. Oh, this actually doesn't look as bad as I thought it might. Okay, that's cool. I'll take it. It's always nice to have pleasant surprises like that, where I went in fully expecting it to be totally off, and it's actually pretty okay. Just gotta get some of these curves looking a little bit nicer. Do some fine adjustments here. Ones that are a little bit easier to do by hand rather than with the brush. And I'll go ahead and smooth everything on out. And there we go. Okay, I think that got rid of most of the wrinkles. There's still a little bit of one up at the top there. And I guess a little bit at the bottom as well. So let's go fix those. I just see a little spot where it kind of changes direction, like right here. Just a little sudden change of direction there. But that can be worked out. I always have a little bit of trouble moving these 2-row meshes around. They're nice because they're very easy to make. But I find the 3-row meshes to be the easiest to move. Because then you have that good old spine going down the middle and can just move everything relative to that, and it's a little bit easier. So now I just want to get this curl right here, just right. And I think that's perfect. Let's see if the movement agrees. Yeah, and it even moves along with the ear, which I think is great. Alright, I think I must have shortened the tip when I was doing all that. So let's stretch this out just a little here. There we go. And now we have something like that. Okay, yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Let's see about working up the curl at the bottom here. I think that'll be a fairly simple change, so let's get to it. Once again, having to figure out how to move a 2-row mesh to get the shape that I want. And here it's like transitioning from a 3 to a 2. It's right there. That's not moving quite the way I want it to. Alright, mesh. We're gonna ask you for your wisdom. What am I doing wrong here? Okay, understandable. This one wanted to be much higher. I'm doing my best to ignore the little piece poking through there. Because I want to try to get the shape of this right before I deal with that. We'll see if my brain allows it. Okay. It's not. So, I'm gonna go fix that real quick. It's okay, there's only so much that can be done. You gotta accommodate your brain. It's just how it is. Your brain will not let you think if you do not accommodate it sometimes. Okay, that's close. Just like a little thing going on right there. Just don't have this guy in the right place yet. Yep, that's what it looks like. Okay. But there we go. Okay, I think that's doing much better. I see a little bit of crunchiness right through there. Just like right here, you can see that there's like, I don't know, a weird lump right there. Pretty sure it's not supposed to be like that. So let's see if I can make that just a little bit better. Probably just need to bring these in just a little bit here. Alright, there we go. Line those triangles up just a little bit better. And all the problems go away. I always wish that my life was so simple. I can line up triangles all day, every day. Alright, so far so good. And I guess before I finish up over there, I want to take a look at the one strand on this side that I'm not so sure about. Right here. This guy right there. I've been looking at him occasionally. And it's mostly right, which is why I didn't feel the need to fix it yet. I wanted to fix all these bigger problems. But now I've fixed all the bigger problems. So now I can give this guy some attention. I don't think he's that far off. Let's see, I do remember that there was a little bit of a break in the strand, even in the original, so I think that's actually correct. Maybe not. Things are getting a little bit stretched. There's some shifting happening, so I think I'm actually going to ask the mesh for its wisdom again. Okay, mesh, what can you tell me? What's going on here? What do you have to report? Okay, currently mesh says that the autosave is doing its thing. So here we go. Let's start just getting all these tiny, tiny details in there. They're small enough that they're hard to describe. But they're there, and I would like to fix them. And it is indeed helping me work out where some of these teeny, tiny problems are. And just because they're small and almost invisible doesn't mean that they shouldn't be solved, in my opinion. It's alright. We can solve every single one of these problems. That is some of the power that we have as artists. And solve all the problems within the universes we create. That one probably doesn't matter, but it's fine. I can go ahead and stick them out down there. Oh yeah, there we go, that's much better. Look at that, it's moving along with the hair perfectly now. Got one little crunch right there. Just one. And once I fix that, I think everything over on this side will be good, and I can just fix a couple of strands over on the right side, and we'll be good to go. And that'll be the right head turn revisited, and then I can revisit the left one. And then the corners. Oh, the corners. I'm still a little bit scared, if I'm being honest. I really am. Corners are a bit scary, but it's alright. I think the model's going to be looking really good once I can get those corners in. Oh, and then of course after the corners, it means it's time for physics. Alright, I guess I still have to do some stuff in the back here before I can call myself done. Alas. That's okay. Let's fix up a couple more things before I get off and go eat. I am getting pretty hungry. Okay, there we go. You can tell I'm getting pretty hungry. Couldn't find the strand I was looking for. So I had to be quiet because I cannot read and talk at the same time. Honestly, I'm wondering if I can get those skills someday, where I'll be able to read through my layers and still maintain my thoughts well enough to speak them. That sounds like a challenge, but I like challenges. That's why I'm doing Inktober. I mean, I joke about not wanting to make my life hard. And it's true, but that's because I do a bunch of other stuff to make my life hard instead. I like to make my life hard when it's my choice. I just don't want other things making my life hard for no reason. But if I'm being honest, I wouldn't want my life to be easy either. That sounds pretty boring. I think I'm the type of person that if life got a little bit too easy, I'd start finding ways to put training weights on myself and make it harder. Just because I could. I wouldn't say I'm the type of person that likes to go out of my way to look for problems. But I'm definitely the type of person that likes to go out of my way to look for challenges. I still remember there's a few times that I've wanted to kind of give up with Inktober, but I was like, nah, we're doing the thing. We're doing it. I insist. And I did, and it was fine. Everything is still fine. It's been pretty great. There are some pictures that I produced that I don't like, but for the most part, I think they're pretty good. And I continue to be amazed at how much I've been able to do. And that is a good feeling. A good feeling that I can only feel because of the challenges that I imposed on myself. Trust me, it's worth it. I highly encourage you to try too, listener. If anyone happens to be here, go do it. Go find that thing that you've been thinking about doing, but have been scared or tired or whatever else. I won't call them excuses because I'm pretty sure that they're valid. And excuses has a rather negative connotation to it. But who cares? Go do it. Worst that happens is that you mess it up and stop. And that's not really that big a deal. Alright, I don't think I feel like tackling the bottom part of the strand here right now, so I think that's what I will do tomorrow. So I will stop here for today. So let's save. Always remember to save. And now I'm going to go get some food. So, thank you all for coming. If you'd like me to take a look at your own creative projects, whether that be art, writing, coding, game design, or any creative pursuit you can think of, feel free to message or at me on your social media platform of your choice, and I will take a look and maybe leave some comments. I'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.